I'm Jim Moyer. An epiphany, from the ancient Greek epiphania, is the sudden realization or comprehension of the larger essence or meaning of something. In writing about his epiphany at 4th and Walnut, Thomas Merton observed of the people in the downtown shopping district, quote, "There is no way of telling people that they are all walking around shining like the sun." I want to describe for you today an experience of seeing a single person shining in the sun, however briefly. Kate was a bright, engaging child who came into our house when she was 3 days old. My wife and I adopted her from California. She was sunny and cheerful, with a frequent grin and big blue eyes. She had an uneventful childhood, growing up with us and her younger sister in Louisville and going to Louisville Collegiate School. As she entered adolescence, she became a bit moody and her academic performance became inconsistent, but we saw nothing out of the ordinary. When Kate was 14, however, her behavior and her demeanor changed dramatically. She developed a whole new group of friends, people of whom we knew nothing, all from zip codes with which we were unfamiliar. It was unsettling. Who were these people? How did she meet them? Why were they her friends? In the fall of her sophomore year, Kate became much harder for us to manage. She would slip out of the house at night. I started sleeping in the hallway outside her bedroom, on the floor, to keep her from sneaking out. She would crawl out the window. Kate's grades became worse, and she became sullen and oppositional. She was hospitalized for a week as a consequence of a severe depressive incident in which she became almost catatonic. After she was discharged, she went back to school and worked with therapists, but the strange friends did not change, and the pattern of sneaking out of the house continued. She told us that she had been at a party in the neighborhood and had been sexually assaulted. We were horrified, even though it gave us some explanation, however awful, for her difficult behavior. As she continued to be out of control, we struggled to find some kind of treatment for her. We worked with an educational consultant from Nashville, and we had her placed in a wilderness therapy school in Utah. This was only after another hospitalization and after I recruited a 6'5" athletic friend to accompany me while we drove her to the airport in Cincinnati, essentially a prisoner. I flew with her to Salt Lake City and met the wilderness program director at the airport. She was transported to the high desert country in early April, outfitted with backpacking gear, and taken into the wilderness. Her program director was experienced, well-trained, and compassionate. He coaxed from her the confession that the sexual assault was a lie, a device to explain away her out-of-control behavior she did not understand either. After 6 weeks in the wilderness program, Kate was enrolled in a therapeutic boarding school in remote Montana, not too far from Glacier National Park. The small school was all girls on a backcountry road near a wilderness region and emphasized behavior modification. Our telephonic visits with the staff made us feel that Kate was not happy and was not cooperating. These suspicions were confirmed when we got a telephone call that Kate and another girl had been caught at night trying to sneak away from the school. The campus was open, there were no locks on the doors, and if a student would not stay voluntarily, she would be expelled. Kate was sent back to the wilderness backpacking program in Utah. Moving backwards made her angry and fearful. Now fall, it was getting cold in the high Utah desert, and wet weather began to move in. We received a terrifying call from the backpacking program telling us that Kate and another girl had run away in the middle of the night. The backpacking counselors always confiscated everyone's boots at night to prevent runaways. Kate and Crystal had taken duct tape and had taped their feet to allow them to travel in the wilderness without shoes or boots. They wandered in the rain barefoot in the high country for 24 hours while a search and rescue squad patrolled for them. If the weather had not been so bad, the sheriff would have dispatched a helicopter. Kate and Crystal emerged at a crossroads hamlet, went into a gas station and grocery store to dry out and warm up, and they were soon picked up by the local police. The backpacking program could not keep her, and she was transferred to an adolescent therapeutic program in northern Alabama where everyone was locked in. She was transported cross-country by a retired parole officer to assure that she would not run away again. The Alabama program evaluated her for a couple of weeks and came to the puzzled conclusion that she did not share the severe behavioral and emotional problems of most of the residents. My wife and I agreed to pick her up. We drove to Alabama. The people at the treatment program were friendly, but we were unnerved that our daughter was in a locked facility. We met her in an outdoors fenced recreation area. We had not spent time with her for 6 months. She had lost some weight, but looked healthy and strong. As we talked to the staff, I glanced over my shoulder and I saw her sitting on top of a picnic table. She had her legs crossed, sitting on the tabletop, her hands in an earnest prayer position. The sun was on her face, and it seemed to light her up. She had not been home in months. She had been repeatedly moved around the country, almost like a criminal. She had been in a psychiatric hospital twice. She had been in a wilderness backpacking program twice. She had spent months in a remote boarding school with other emotionally troubled girls. No regular friends, no telephone, no television, no internet. Now she was in a locked therapeutic facility for young people. She had not been abused, but she had been a virtual prisoner of the adolescent mental health gulag. I could not read her mind for certain, but the prayer seemed pretty plain. Please, God, I want to go home. And she did. She came home with us, re-enrolled in high school at St. Francis High School downtown. She did her coursework, graduated with her class, and she never ran away again. But all was not well. The strange friends persisted. She enrolled in Alcoholics Anonymous, even though she did not drink heavily and was not a substance abuser. She had difficulty holding a job and moved in with an immature boy still in high school. 3 days short of age 20, she took a fatal overdose of her antidepressant. By this time, she was under the care of a skilled adolescent psychiatrist who had diagnosed her as probably suffering from bipolar disorder. I can still remember the day she was sitting on the picnic table in the sunlight, hands in prayer position with her eyes closed. That remains a moment etched in memory as she looked at ease and intense in prayer. My epiphany or insight or interpretation of that arresting moment has emerged over time. It did not strike me immediately, as I could not have known when I saw her on that picnic table in Alabama that less than 4 years later she would no longer be alive. None of us knows how long we may live, and what is a short life or a long life is no more than an arbitrary measurement. Most importantly, we all just want to go home.